Doctor Who Eve of the Daleks, the 2022 New Year special and the first of the 2022 specials, is written by Chris Chibnall and starring Jodie Whittaker, Mendip Gill and John Bishop. So on 29th of July 2021, Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall were announced leaving by the BBC at the end of the specials. It was said that the 3 series and that's the end of the shift. The first 2 specials were to be part of the 8 episodes of Series 13 and were already set to be held for 2022, while the 3rd special planned to be BBC's Centenary Epic Blockbuster special. Nikki Wilson, who was a script editor for the Centauran Stratagem and worked as co-executive producer since The Waters of Mars, as well as the Sarah Jane Adventures, was leaving also. So Chris Chibnall wrote this episode for a Dalek and New Year's Day trilogy. They shot this episode on August 2021, directed by Annetta Lofa, and introduces the Executioner Dalek, a new form of Dalek which is cool.
Daleks, learn. Exterminate. Not like this.
And it focuses on time loop, which is pretty cool. So in Elf storage building, Sarah texts Jeff, who didn't show up on New Year's Eve, and poor Sarah gets non-stop text messages. Nick arrives to put the items in the storage, and there's worrying about hazards and Monopoly board game. So when Nick puts the items in a storage room, he finds a Dalek and gets exterminated. So then Sarah phones her mum doing her own thing. The Dalek arrived from the lift and she gets exterminated. But the next loop they're alive again. They swapped places as they're saving each other, but it didn't go as planned as they get killed again. Plus there's a force field around the building. When the Doctor, Yaz and Dan arrived, they get exterminated, so then Nick and Sarah ran into each other and wondering what was going on, so they took cover in a storage room. And we get a funny scene where Nick talks about his exes and some weren't very serious. Ajani Salmon plays Nick, who's a customer. I like him, he's pretty funny. He's got some funny lines. Ashlyn Bean plays Sarah, who owns the Elf Shelf. The actress did a great job playing a character who's not very nice. Pauline McLean plays Mary, the mother of Sarah. I really love that character. Dalek Executioners were a new variant form of Dalek, introduced at the Emperor of the Restoration's behest to his Restoration Empire after the end of the war between Renegade and Imperial Daleks. I thought they looked cool with the Gatling gun, so Nick tried to reason with the Dalek but it didn't work, although he was upset because Sarah wouldn't be there if it wasn't for him. The Dalek managed to get through, then exterminated into the next loop, so Dan decides to distract the Dalek by mistaking it as a robot for the building. I love the bit where he went close to the Dalek fires a gun but Dan moves as he dodges.
What kind of a welcome is that, hey? I'll be calling you, do you manage it?
But of course he gets exterminated as soon as the Dalek realises Dan is a friend of the Doctor. In the next loop, Nick explains to Sarah about his feelings for her, not the embarrassing way Jeff did. Dalek exterminated them. So the next loop, the Daleks blamed the Doctor for wiping the Dalek war fleet out with Flux. But the Doctor explained it was just her hijacking a Centauran stratagem, which resulted exterminated into another time loop. And because Nick normally dies 5 to midnight, the Doctor rescued him, but we get an awesome scene where Nick tricks 2 Daleks into firing their guns at each other.
I can make it to midnight. I can make it out. Oh, you think you can get Rasta?
But Sarah couldn't buy it. The Doctor explains to them that they have to make plan to be outside of the building at midnight. Using the door in the basement, she will use her sonic screwdriver to bounce their life signals around so that the Dalek don't know where they are. Sarah tells her mum to phone her in 10 seconds before midnight. As the Daleks arrive, the group faces them and allow themselves to be exterminated. As the Doctor explained that how many times they fail, they get better and eventually succeed.
Help each other. We get it wrong again. We improve together, then ultimately succeed.
Jodie Whittaker is brilliant as the Doctor, as always. She pulls off her speeches. This episode also sets up a relationship between the Doctor and Yaz, as they explain that they really like each other. In 2356, Sarah's in the lift, Dalek destroyed the power and she's exterminated. Nick is in the storage unit again and it's gone pretty dark. Dalek killed him again. After Dan realises he has feelings for the Doctor, they get exterminated again. So does the Doctor after finding Sarah's body. The TARDIS team finds out more of Jeff's stuff in the basement. Boxes of what's likely illegal fireworks. Yaz goes to the 5th floor to fetch Sarah and Nick. In Jeff's weapons room, Sarah explains that it's not actually elf storage. The S fell off, and that before ownership of it passed to her. She had dreams of travelling the world with someone. Yaz calls them back to the basement. As the Dalek realise that the Doctor has misdirected them, the Doctor said they are going to use the next and penultimate loop as a decoy, doing the exact opposite of the plan, so that the Daleks will not be able to predict their actions, so they get killed by the Daleks again. So Sarah takes a lift and calling her mum, letting her know that she loves her, but she thinks she's drunk or ill. So Sarah hanged up, but gets exterminated. So Nick tricks the Daleks into destroying his ex's belongings, thanking them for the therapy, which is pretty funny, and also his pun, ex-terminated. But of course he's killed again. The Doctor, Yaz and Graham sat in the living room and about to eat beef and beans while watching Hootenanny. Beef and beans sounds like an interesting mixture, but I don't think it'll sound tasty. Despite Mary mentions the line would be busy, Sarah tells her to call her 10 seconds before New Year. She passes her phone to the Doctor and Yaz and runs with Nick. So the Doctor and Yaz brought the transports, the hazardous material to the basement and set up around the fireworks. The Doctor uses her sonic screwdriver to place life signals behind the mass before running through the basement door with everyone else. The Dalek arrive in the basement as Mary phones the Doctor, remotely answering it with sonic screwdriver. A simple is all it takes for the Daleks to fire on the explosives, destroy them with the whole building. As the Doctor, Yaz, Dan, Sarah and Nick got out and watching the fireworks, the TARDIS team went back inside the TARDIS and it's fully fixed. The Doctor promises to take them to find some lost treasure. Carl films the fireworks display. Johnny Dixon returns as Carl for that scene, which I wasn't expecting. In the end, Sarah and Nick travel together and the TARDIS flies by. Lots of great stuff in there. What did you think of Eve of the Daleks? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.